a lot of the principles, as I have a chance to catch up on it, a lot of the principles remain the same, Jeff, but it's a lot more spread out, a lot more direct snap, shotgun stuff, runner or pass. What that does is that on many occasions, in fact, makes Reggie the tailback. So some plays, when anybody's looking at the formation, be it a coach or an observer, when he's back there in the shotgun, it appears that he's back there as the quarterback. That's the reasonable assumption to be made. But in fact, by virtue of the call that was made in the huddle, in their mind, he's really the tailback on this play. They do have a very good tailback, but you could raise a point that Reggie might be the best runner on the team. And so rather than those things happening by a little bit more by chance in the past with scrambles, now there's a lot of called Reggie ball plays. So he's going to get his carries in the game because he is such an explosive player. This is a very diverse offense. One, they've got diverse talent. Obviously, they've got two big play producers. It kind of reminds me of a couple years ago when we had Marcus at quarterback and Heath at tight end. Had a player who was a very dynamic, multi-skilled quarterback, and they have a player who, because of his physical attributes from the receiving area, whether it was Heath as a tight end or Calvin as a wide receiver, kind of dominates college competition. And obviously, just as we tried to do with that circumstance, a lot of things are geared towards taking full advantage of the skills of those two particular players. The ball is with one of those two guys most of the time. There's also been some sweeping changes in their style of play, and they're certainly the most wide open, most diverse, most multiple team that we've played so far this year. And I think probably is maybe some things that within the program they were ready for some of these changes, but there also appear to be changes that were directed towards taking advantage of the unique skills of these two players. I think based on the statistics that I checked out, discounting their bowl game last year, which I don't think was part of the statistics that I was using, in the last 14 games, they've only been sacked 8 times. And a lot of that has to do with, particularly in the gun, as you might expect with a receiver like Calvin Johnson, they run a lot more vertical passing game than many teams do. So the drops are deepened. Especially out of the gun, the drops are sometimes 9 or 10 yards deep. It takes a lot longer for the rushers to get there, even if they do have a chance to beat the guy in front of them. The quarterback's just so far away. But also, when he doesn't like what's there, he's quick to get out of there. So a lot of what would be sacks against other quarterbacks turn out to be scrambles on his part. So not many teams, and that includes some. They've played Auburn, they've played Miami, they've played Notre Dame, and they've played some pretty good teams here, Clemson, Georgia. They played some pretty good teams, and nobody seems to be able to sack him. Jerry's got a very good overall package of skills. He's got a lot of rotation on the ball. He's got a lot of life on the ball. He's got good athletic ability for the position. This isn't Marcus Hagan's back there, but he's got niftiness in the pocket. Okay, which is really for, unless you can go to the Marcus Hagan's Reggie Ball level with it, is the key thing. It's not scrambling ability per se. It's niftiness in the pocket to move to avoid rushers, which quite obviously would be a desirable trait for any of our quarterbacks right now. Probably a required trait to be effective back there. And he can demonstrate very good accuracy, but kind of like those promising young pitchers who got a lot of stuff on the ball. And it's only later in their years that they're not walking 6 batters a game. So we can demonstrate for some very good accuracy, but the next ball might fly over the receiver's head. So it's just all of those consistency factors that go with youth. Well, Hank, in the present circumstance, I'm worried about a lot of things besides just the quarterback. But This game just happens to be on national television. That it is on national television has no bearing on how the game's going to be played. So that aspect of it, the national television part has no bearing on it whatsoever. The Georgia Tech part has a big bearing on it. And this is a pretty substantial opponent for a guy to get his first considerable playing time in. But look, it's going to come sooner or later. You can't hide in the shadows. You just got to go out and play. The thing that we've said to the tailbacks and the fullbacks too, any of the backs, Doug, is that if all a running back can do is carry the ball, he eventually becomes a liability to your team. And unless every play you call is going to be a run, that's why you see tailbacks who flash the ability to run with the ball, and everybody says, oh, he ought to be in the game more. A lot of times the reason those guys aren't in the game more is because every time you call a pass play, there's a good chance your quarterback's going to get killed. So pass protection is a vital part of running backs going in the game, unless every play is going to be a run. And if every play is a run, then everybody says, how come you're running it on every play? And we think probably the morale of a team is more important than anything. It's more important than your schemes. And so really the first thought of every day is what's the morale of the team? Where's that stand? What do we need to address? What's the team need to hear today? And within the team, what do certain individuals need to hear from either myself or the position coaches? So there's quite a bit of attention given to that. That's really the most important thing that goes on with your squad. What we see right now is that from both the coaches and the players, very strong commitment to being a good team, an unceasing work ethic. They're really sticking together, working well together. The coaches are working well together. The players are working well together. Both groups are working with each other. And, a lot of energy. And one thing about young players, and obviously in college football, everybody would be called the young players. They're pretty resilient. After practice yesterday and watching the tape, I was well pleased with some of the things Rashawn did that he hadn't been able to do to that point. So I'm hopeful that he's moving to a point where we can get some plays out of him other than on special teams. Vic's doing a nice job over there. I thought he was the same way yesterday. He had a couple pass breakups, pretty close to causing a fumble on one play. It doesn't affect me. I guess it's become part of the American sporting culture. I noticed that none of it came from the student body, that section probably is the section that's done the most to change the climate at the stadium. They've been great. Their support has been tremendous from start to finish, from game to game, from season to season. We didn't play very well. We don't expect any praise for it. We shouldn't expect any praise for it. And we should take all the responsibility necessary for our performance. I think any activities of that nature are more a commentary on the purported supporters of the team than it is on the players. We don't need to be told when we didn't perform well.